Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Keckstadt, creator of Your Success PDQ. What I do is I help people build stronger communication skills through various workshops as well as one-on-one coaching. In an earlier video, I had outlined the 6 components regarding a basic speech framework. Those being the opening, the body, the conclusion of the speech, as well as the 3 traits the speaker brings to the presentation, and those being the ethos, the pathos, and the logos. This particular video, I'm going to specifically address the logos and delve a little more deeply with that. Now, when it comes to logos, generally that means, is your speech logical? Does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Through your speech, can you help the audience connect the dots and understand your presentation with facts and with data and with research that help them come to the same conclusion that you would like them to, and help persuade them to that call to action that you're putting out there. Now, it's vitally important when it comes to logos that you have in fact researched your presentation and that you're not just putting stuff out off of the top of your head that you can't qualify, or that might just be your opinion without any substantial facts backing it up. So you want to look for facts and data and statistics to back up your claim, and you want to be able to cite those statistics as well. It gives you a lot more credibility as a speaker than if you just ramble on without having any real backing information behind you. Now, one of the things, or the thing that you do want to avoid when it comes to logos, is you want to avoid fallacies of claims and data. And there's a number of ways that this can happen, and so I just want to run through a few of them with you and give you a few examples for 2 reasons. The first reason is that if you know what they are, then you will stay away from them as a speaker. You want to stay away from them because when you use them, when you use the fallacies, it can reduce your credibility by a lot, and so you don't want to have that happen. The other reason is that when people use them against you, you can spot them, and you can work your speech around that. You can call them on these fallacies. So let's get started on just a few of these fallacies. The first fallacy is the false dilemma. And the false dilemma is reducing a complex issue into 2 options. And when we're talking about complex issues, there's always more than 2 options when it comes to moving through a complex issue. There's always multiple options. When a presenter or speaker is trying to squeeze an audience into one of 2 ways, it becomes very difficult for the audience to buy into it. The audience feels like they are being railroaded into the speaker's way or the other way. So you want to stay away from the false dilemma. Another one you want to stay away from is the begging the question fallacy. Begging the question is basically saying the same thing twice, just in different ways. I'm not a liar, therefore I'm telling the truth. Well, you're not making any claim that's different from the other. You're not substantiating anything. You're just saying the same thing, just in different ways. So that's another fallacy you want to stay away from. Another fallacy you would want to stay away from is the slippery slope reasoning. And that one would go something like, listen, we don't want to improve this highway project because if we build a better highway, we're going to get more traffic through town. And if we get more traffic through town, there's going to be urban sprawl. And once we get urban sprawl, more people are going to want to move here. And when more people want to move here, then we're going to have a giant homeless community. And with a homeless community comes a bunch of drug users and drug pushers. And all of a sudden, these drug pushers are going to be in the schools, and our kids are going to turn into drug users and prostitutes, and we're going to need more jails. And so you can see what's happening there. When you get into that slippery slope and you have nothing to substantiate any of your claims, you lose a lot of credibility as a speaker. Another fallacy is the ad populum fallacy, and that basically is popular support does not equate to a value claim. For example, you can't go and say McDonald's sells the most burgers in the world, therefore McDonald's is the best restaurant. Again, popular support does not equal a value claim. Another fallacy in presentation is the red herring. Now, here in Canada, we had an instance a little while ago in our House of Commons where there was a certain amount of money that was needed to be addressed because it was unaccounted for, and the member of Parliament who brought up the issue asked about, where is this check, and the response was, well, the response to the member who brought up this issue from the opposition was something along the lines of, you made a presentation to a non-profit organization and you charged money for it. You charged money for making a presentation at a charity. And again, that's a red herring. That is a distraction from the real issue. It had nothing to do whether or not the person made the presentation, whether or not the person had been paid for the presentation for the charity, whether or not there was an agreement, had absolutely nothing to do with the misallocation of the funds that he was bringing up in the House of Commons. Another fallacy in that you want to avoid is the post hoc reasoning. The chronological data as a causal relationship. For example, in 1991, Canada censored Saturday morning cartoons, and by 1997, the crime rate had dropped 15%. One has nothing to do with the other. There's no causal relationship between the two events. Another fallacy you want to avoid is the hasty generalization. And that is something along the lines of, hey, I was in Nanaimo and there was a Burger King there, and then I was in Vancouver and there was a Burger King there, and then I went to San Francisco, there was a Burger King there. There must be a Burger King in every city in the world. Again, that's a hasty generalization. It's a fallacy. There's no truth. There's no basis in having that idea. Then there's the non sequitur, where the claim does not follow the data. For example, I read yesterday that there was a pit bull attack. Oh my God, my brother's neighbor has a pit bull. I'm going to get bit. Again, the claim does not follow the data. Just because you read about a pit bull attack and you know someone who lives beside someone who owns a pit bull, it doesn't mean you're going to get bit. There's also the straw argument, and that's attacking a weak position that's not held by one's opponent. For example, again, in the House of Commons just recently, one of the members had voiced looking into the marijuana laws. And right away, the opponents were on top of this, saying, well, we don't want to have marijuana in our schools, and marijuana is bad for the kids and everything else. No one on either side of the House, there's no member of Parliament who for 1 second is going to make the argument that we should look into revising the marijuana laws because we want to put marijuana in the vending machines in our grade schools or high schools. No one is going so far as to say that. So that, again, the straw argument is just a ridiculous argument to begin with, and you don't want to be involved in putting out anything like that because it does bring your credibility as a speaker down. And then there is the ad hominem, and that is skipping the argument altogether to attack the character or to attack the person. And for example, if someone has a speaking impediment and you disregard the argument altogether and attack the person's speaking impediment, or disregard the argument altogether to attack a person's disability, disregard the argument altogether to attack a person's hairstyle. Again, it has no basis in the argument, it adds nothing to your credibility. So these are some of the things you want to stay away from, specifically regarding the logos of your presentation. So again, just to wrap up, when it comes to the logos of your presentation, it's basically showing your audience that your speech is logical, it's reasonable, it's been researched, you can help your audience connect the dots and come to a conclusion much like your own, because many times as a presenter you are wanting to persuade your audience. When you can persuade your audience with information and data that has been researched, that can be supported, it is much easier. It definitely builds your credibility, and it is much easier to persuade them to link to your call to action at the end of your presentation. So I hope this video on logos has been helpful. Again, if there's any questions you may have regarding public presentations, feel free to email them to my website at www.yoursuccesspdq.com. I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. In the meantime, go out and enjoy the day and do your best to serve one another.